Chess YouTube, I have breaking news. Alireza Firouzja just invented a brand new chess opening in this week's Titled Tuesday tournament, and I'm calling this new opening the Fashion Diva Opening, and you're about to find out why. All right, in the game, his opponent, the very strong Grandmaster Eric Hansen, opens 1e4, best by test, and Alireza, how does he respond? Well, he plays the move here, 1a5, busting out maximum disrespect on move 1. Now, Eric Hansen, d4, this guy is playing for real, he's playing for a win, but Alireza, he plays the move a4, gaining even more space on the queen side. What the heck is this guy doing so far? Now from here, knight f3 is the move, and so far, all of this has been seen before in different online games, but here, Alireza, he busts out a move that has never been played before in the history of the game, and that move is the move h6, making this a brand new chess opening that, again, I'm calling the Fashion Diva Opening, as we all know, Alireza is the biggest fashion diva, fashion maestro in the chess world these days. I'm not even making it up. Anyway, from here, Eric Hansen, c4 is the move, gaining space, a solid idea, and Alireza, e6. All right, now, bishop d3, and then Alireza busts out his big idea in this new opening, the Fashion Diva Opening, g5, gaining space on the king side and sort of threatening a g4 advance, which we do see this idea a lot in different openings, including the Caro-Kann opening, the Italian opening, and so on. But Alireza so far playing literally only pawn moves in this game. Absolute madness so far. All right, now from here, Eric Hansen, a3, guarding on the queen side, bishop g7, then h3, guarding g4, and now we have the move knight to c6. So Alireza finally bringing out at least a couple of pieces into the game, but so far his pawn structure literally all over the board looks absolutely absurd. What the heck are these pawns doing on these different squares? Honestly, I'm not so sure. Now here, Eric Hansen has a variety of very attractive ideas, including, for example, castles is good, d5, gaining space is quite good, knight c3 is quite good, but instead he plays a different idea, bishop c2, dropping back with the bishop and threatening the vulnerable pawn on a4, that being the Fashion Diva Opening pawn on the a4 square. Now from here, Alireza, how is he going to respond? Well, sooner or later, he's got to find some way to fight back in the center. I mean, you can't allow moves like d5 and e5 from white. That would be absolutely crushing. Therefore, here, Alireza, he decides it is time to counterattack on the d5 square. He goes for the critical d5 break like this, threatening e4, threatening c4, and so on. But of course, white has a ton of pressure against this pawn on d5, and here Eric Hansen should be okay. Here, he takes on d5 not once, but twice with the c-pawn and then the e-pawn like this. Now black takes back with the queen, queen takes d5, and so far at first glance, actually, Alireza, his game isn't that bad. He actually has the slightly better pawn structure, that meaning, of course, white has the isolated pawn on d4, which is very weak, and black does have a tremendous amount of pressure against that pawn. However, things are not so simple. Alireza, his king side is incredibly vulnerable, as is pawn on the a4 square. That pawn is going to be lost sooner or later, and overall, white does have a ton of pressure against the black position. Now from here, white plays the most obvious idea, knight c3, attacking the queen. Obviously, you cannot capture on d4, as then white takes back with the knight and wins the queen. So the queen on d5 is being knocked away. Go away, queen. It's got to find a better square, but where will it go? In the game, Alireza, the move here is queen to c4. Not the most obvious move. I mean, naturally here, black may want to go to, say, d8 or a5 or d6 in the spirit of the Scandinavian opening, but it turns out queen to c4 in this position is even stronger, and it's a good multi-purpose move. Guarding a4, stopping bishop takes a4 ideas, but beyond that, also guarding f1, stopping kingside castling. From here, Alireza, his plan may be knight of 6, then castles, knight f6, and then castles, and then rook to e8, pressuring the king on the e1 square. If white is not careful, he could be under a lot of pressure. Now here, Eric Hansen, he actually takes the pawn on the a4 square. Bishop takes a4 is the move, winning that free pawn and pinning the knight on c6 to the king on the e8 square in this new opening, the Fashion Diva Opening. Now here, black, knight to e7 is the move, developing and blocking the e-file a little bit. Now here, Eric, he's got to find the right follow-up. Honestly, it's actually not that easy to find the best move here. The big problem, of course, is white cannot castle right now. The queen controls the f1 square. Castling would literally put the king into check right here, and therefore is not a legal move. So what should white be doing here? How should he set up the idea of castling? Well, this is a good time for a puzzle. If you like puzzles, pause the video right now and try to figure out what is the best plan for white in this position. Well, it turns out white has a really strong idea right here. The move is going to be bishop to b5. You attack the queen. The bishop is also supported by the knight, and more importantly, the bishop controls this diagonal, including f1, and therefore once the queen moves to, say, I don't know, e6 or wherever else, then you can castle and you are just dominating the board. Unfortunately, Eric Hansen, he doesn't find the idea. Instead, bishop b3 was played in the game, also attacking the queen. Of course, this piece being defended by the queen on d1. However, the queen, it simply slides back, and Alireza finds the best move here for black, by far, a very strong idea. And with one simple move, Alireza, he's back in the game, fighting for equality in this brand new opening, the Fashion Diva Opening. And the move is queen to a6, just sliding back and maintaining complete domination of this diagonal. And therefore, the king still cannot castle on the king's side. What is white going to do? Well, he plays the move here, a4, gaining space on the queen's side, but it's not really obvious what this move does. After all, what are you accomplishing with this pawn move? Honestly, I'm not that sure. Here, black plays the move, knight to a7, dropping back with the knight. Why did Alireza do this? Well, the idea may include knight b5 ideas, as for right now, the rook on a1 is sort of vulnerable on the a file. For example, if black played knight b5, you can't take with the a pawn, as then you lose the rook on the a1 square. So that could be the idea. Now here, Eric Hansen finds a reasonably strong idea, and I far prefer this to the a4 idea played earlier. Here, the move for white is h4, trying to break up these kingside pawns, a much better move. Of course, Alireza, the Fashion Diva maestro himself, he's not going to stand for it, and here he plays the move g4, gaining space on the king side and driving away this knight from the f3 square. So where is this knight going to go? Well, it jumps into the e5 square. Knight to e5 is the move, black castles, and then we have bishop c4. The knight and the bishop synergizing perfectly to pressure the black queen. And beyond that, white still has a lot of pressure on this diagonal right here, lining up with the pawn on f7. So overall here, white is still very much in control. He's got way better pieces, arguably a safer king, and his king on e1 can castle on the king side literally whenever he wants to. So what is black going to do in response? Well, here, Alireza, he is down, but he is not out. He plays the move queen to b6, and keep in mind right here, Alireza has literally 1 more minute on the clock versus Eric Hansen. Eric down to 1 minute and 5 seconds versus the 2 minutes and 7 seconds of Alireza. Therefore, black here has very good winning chances in terms of the clock. Now here, white does castle. We have castles, and black's got to find a good way to bring the rest of his pieces into the game, specifically this knight, this bishop, and this rook. So what is he going to do? Well, for now, he ignores those pieces and he plays the move knight to f5. All right, what's the idea here? Well, first of all, black obviously is pressuring this pawn on the h4 square. So white sort of has to find a response. Do you want to defend? Do you want to counterattack? What's it going to be in this brand new opening, the Fashion Diva Opening? Well, here white does go knight d5, jumping up, pressuring the queen. Not a bad idea at all. But the problem is this pawn on d4 is now hanging, as black has both the queen and the knight pressuring this pawn on d4. White misses the idea, and here black simply swoops in and takes the pawn. Queen takes d4 is the move. Now, of course, in doing so, you give white all kinds of ideas like knight takes c7, or knight e7 check, and so on. So white is going to have some ideas here, but overall, black is, playing very tricky chess. Now here, Eric Hansen, he plays a very, very tricky trap. He plays the move knight to e7, literally suiciding his knight into the e7 square in enemy territory. But the problem here is very simple. If black takes this knight, knight takes e7, the problem with that is the queen on d4 would be undefended, and white would swoop in and take the queen like this. If black takes the knight, knight takes e7, then bada boom, bada bang, queen takes d4, wins the queen, and most likely the game. So you cannot allow that. Instead here, the move for black is going to be king to h7. Alireza trying to run his king away to the king side where it is a little more safe. Now here, Eric Hansen, how does he want to proceed? Well, the big feature of this position is the king being vulnerable on this diagonal. So with that in mind, the strongest move right here, right now, is going to be bishop d3, ignoring this knight, instead counterattacking on this knight on this diagonal. So that is the right idea here. Now, instead of that, in the game, Eric Hansen plays a little bit of a mistake. He captures on f5 with the knight. Knight takes f5, but this move here is just a lot weaker than the alternative, bishop d3. After knight takes here, black is starting to fight back in this game. Here, the queens come flying off the board. We have queen takes, then rook takes, and then bishop takes f5. A very simple, very obvious move. And now let's slow down and do inventory. Despite being an absolutely insane new opening in the first few moves of the game, here we have a roughly level endgame. Both sides have the three minor pieces, like this versus this, the two rooks, and about 5 pawns per side. So overall, material is effectively dead even, and it's really going to come down to who has the more active pieces. So white so far is a little more active. He has a little bit of an edge, but it's not that much. Now, how should white continue? Well, he's got to find a way to bring his bishop and his rook into the game. The best way to do that is simply bishop f4, targeting c7 via the x-ray attack, and that would be extremely, extremely strong. Now, instead of that, in the game, white plays maybe the more obvious idea, just trying to capture the free pawn on f7 like this. Knight takes f7. However, this move, it turns out it does throw away a big portion of white's edge, and according to the computer here, the game is just completely dead even. Neither side has even an inkling of an edge here. Now, Alireza, knight c6, he develops, and also opens up the attack of the rook on the pawn on a4, so black here getting a lot of activity, and not to mention, this knight could be vulnerable later in the game. If black ever manages to, say, chase away this bishop off c4, that knight could be hanging just a little bit later. All right, now here, Eric Hansen, bishop f4 is the move, a good move, targeting c7 straight away. That pawn is vulnerable, but here black ignores the pawn completely. Alireza plays the move, rook a to e8. I mean, this is where this guy's experience is just, just on full display here, completely ignoring the threat against the pawn, instead saying, you know what, these rooks have to be active no matter what, even if it means giving up a pawn in the process. So black, rook a to e8 is the move, gaining control of the e-file and giving up c7 if white wants it. But it turns out here white does not want it for reasons that are unbeknownst to me. He does not take on c7. Oh no, Eric Hansen, the very strong GM, especially in online blitz chess, he plays the move a5, gaining space on the queen side. Now, grandmasters these days, it seems like all they do is push their rook pawns all the way up the board like this. But it turns out in this position, this is just not the right move. And here, Alireza finds a very simple tactical shot. If you like puzzles, pause the video right now and try to find the key idea for black right here, right now. even if you're, say, 427 ELO in online chess, you should be able to find this move right here. And the move, of course, is simply rook to e4. So you attack both the bishop on f4 and the bishop on c4. And how did white miss the idea of this? I mean, Eric Hansen, he's in time pressure, roughly 14 seconds left on the clock. He simply made a blunder in time pressure. He played the move a5, and now rook to e4 is absolutely crushing. But let's wait and see what happens from here. From here, Eric Hansen, he wins the free pawn on c7. Bishop takes c7, but Alireza, this guy is not slowing down. Rook takes c4 is the move. Now from here, white plays the move knight d6, a solid attempt to try and get some sort of counterplay. You attack the rook, you attack the bishop, and so on. But here, Alireza, he simply plays one final move, and he decides the game. And that move is going to be rook c2. And in this position, black simply white resigns on the spot to Alireza Firouzja and his brand new chess opening, the Fashion Diva Opening. And here's why. First of all, white has literally 3 seconds left on the clock versus the 1 minute and 33 seconds. Beyond that, black has so much pressure. For example, on the pawn on f2, as soon as this bishop moves, that pawn will be falling, and black is going to have a huge, huge edge. So for that reason right here, Eric Hansen, he resigns on the spot to Alireza Firouzja and his brand new opening, the Fashion Diva Opening. All right, Chess YouTube, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please show me some love. Smash that like button. It does help me out a ton, so please, if you can, feel free to smash the like button and comment down below what you thought of this new opening video, the Fashion Diva Opening. I've never covered a new opening by Alireza Firouzja on this channel, so I'm very happy to finally have one by him. And he literally just played it yesterday in Title Tuesday. So this is as breaking as it possibly gets. So anyways, that is all. I wish you the best of luck in your chess improvement journey in 2025 and beyond, and I'll see you in the next video.